In this video, I'm going to show you guys how you can boost that credit score through the roof quick. Having a high credit score is incredibly important for many reasons, especially if you ever want to buy a house or a car or even rent an apartment. The better your credit score is, the cheaper it'll actually be to own any of these things. You'll actually spend more money having a worse credit score. And if you don't have any credit at all, stop listening to Dave Ramsey on this, because in 2022, you definitely need some credit. Have you seen home prices? Who's got an extra $750,000 just in cash? What's up, guys? My name's Nolan Govea, or Professor G as my students know me. I'm a professor that specializes in personal finance, but even more than that, I'm somebody who just recently bought a house within the last year and a new car, so I know exactly what you guys are going through with this credit situation. I also tried to buy a house about 3 or 4 years ago when I had a huge amount of cash because I had just sold one of my first businesses, but they still wouldn't give me that loan because my credit wasn't high enough. And so I'm going to teach you guys so that you don't have to go through what I went through. And always on this channel, I do all the research for you so that you don't have to. If you appreciate transparent content like that and you appreciate learning about personal finance and investing, please give me a subscribe and let's get to it. So credit scores start at 0 and they go up to 850. 670 to 739 are considered good, 740 to 799 are considered very good, and 800 and above are considered excellent. And so basically your score is calculated through you paying off loans. Those loans could be something like student loans, a car debt, credit cards. The easiest and most fastest thing for you to do today would be just to open up a credit card. Even if it's a starter credit card where you're not getting much points or anything like that, it's still going to be worth it because it's showing that you can take on a debt and you can pay it off. So it's going to benefit you the most to understand how credit is calculated, because then if you can excel in each one of these categories, you can boost that score through the roof, and pretty soon you'll be able to get what you want and not have to pay as much, especially in interest. I'm going to start with the biggest categories because those are the most important. Literally, these first two categories are worth 65% of how the whole score is calculated. So get these two right. So as soon as you give this video a like, then we can get going. All right, so the first category, and actually the biggest of the whole thing, is worth 35%, is payment history. So this one should be pretty easy. Pay your debts, people. Number 2 is going to be worth 30%, and it's called amounts owed. Well, if you have a credit card and the limit is, say, $2,000, are you always having to max out that credit card? Are you always going to $2,000, or are you keeping it pretty low as far as the amount? You don't always want to max out your credit card, and you definitely don't want a history of maxing out your credit card or having too much of a balance on there. They want to see that with the amount that they give you, are you going to abuse that, or are you going to stay within reason? Best possible place for you to stay is under 30% utilization. So if you have about $2,000 that you can put on a credit card, that's your credit limit, then only put up to about $600 and then pay it down. And then you can put more on and then pay it down. But try to keep it at 30% and lower. The next category is worth 15%, and it is the length of credit history. So this is the one where I see people mess up the most because they close out their longest existing credit card. Now what I see happen is people might run up a certain debt. Say you have $1,000 on this card and it takes you a year to pay off that $1,000. The last thing you want to do is ever put more debt onto that card because you just had a year's worth of paying that off, and so you just close that account so that you never use it again. Wrong. That is going to mess with your credit history. What they want to see is how long have you been able to have credit, how long have you paid off credit, because they don't want to give money to a new borrower. So whenever you get your first credit card, just keep that account open even if there's nothing on the card. Do not close out your oldest account. Still want to keep open a couple credit cards and a couple different types of credit, because the next category is called credit mix. And that one's worth 10% of your score. What this is basically asking for is how many different types of loans and credits can you juggle? Because if they're going to give you money for a house or for a car, they know that you're going to have to now have that payment on top of a credit card payment on top of just other bills. So they want to make sure that you're able to handle this. The best way to get that credit mix up is to not only have one credit card, but maybe have 2 credit cards, and then also possibly taking out a loan for a car. A lot of people say, well, if I'm going to be buying a used car or a car that doesn't cost very much, shouldn't I just pay it all in cash right away and not have a payment? In my opinion, especially as you're building your credit, that's the worst worst thing that you could do for your credit. Now, while it might give you peace of mind because you don't have a payment anymore, it's also taken away the fact that you get to show that you can make payments. So if it was up to me, the smart way that I would do it is if I was buying a $5,000 car and I actually had $5,000 to pay for it right now, I would just open up a new bank account, put that $5,000 in it, but I would take out a loan on the car. So then every month, if it's like a $200 payment, I know that I have the money all set aside in this bank account. Just put it on automatic pay. It's showing that you can pay things on time, but it's also out of sight, out of mind, and you don't have to worry about it because you had all the money. Now, most people don't have all the money, and that's okay, but I'm just saying for those of you that are saying, should I pay for it all right now, or should I have a payment? Now, the last piece to build that credit is called new credit, and that's worth about 10%. Now, this is just saying how new is your credit, or how many new accounts have you opened up. Just like I teach my students, having a credit card or taking out any type of loans takes a very disciplined person in order to pay these things down. At the end of the day, most people have a pretty bad credit score because they've shown that they can take the loan out and they can take the credit out, but they're very bad at paying it back. That part's not so fun. Never incur too much debt, especially on your credit card, because those interest rates can go through the roof, and that's how those people make lots and lots of money off of you. Be safe, be smart, and let that credit grow.